This is the Silt Verses Drowned Revelations. We're on part 12. And we are going to hand out rewards from last session where we completed the Something Wonderful just outside of town. And then we're going to start picking up with the conspiracy. So I pasted the rewards in the chat. They're pretty weird for this one. If anyone wants to ask another custodian what reward they find, you can also do that as an option. So if anyone has any thoughts, please jump in.
I'm going to let other people go first because I cannot pick. This list is buck wild. Michael Van Vliet, if you're watching this, wowzer, wowzer, bowsers. Okay. So I'm going to let someone else pick first.
I'm going to pick, but not pick by asking someone to invent
Nice.
a reward for me. So let's... B, you've got your mic on. Can I please have a reward?
I don't, this came to me fucking instantly fully formed, so I'm sorry. But you have a clown egg with your face on it. And maybe it's even the doctor, like the clown doctor face.
Of
Oh
course.
no. Oh no. Okay. Thank you.
Also, is this a preserved egg? I won't say. I'm just too
No,
tempted to
it's
not. Yeah,
I
ask
mean,
the
like,
question.
you know what? I was
It's
gonna
such an
say
egg
like
that
how
could
they like,
hatch.
you know what? I'm gonna leave that open because like usually they'd like blow it out and make it hollow.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the case. I don't think you know.
I can't wait to find out.
Hmm.
I'm gonna read some of these for fun if anyone happens
Please
to watch
do.
this. But just to give you
Please
the sense
do.
of the weirdness, one is a popcorn cart with a self-replenishing hopper of corn kernels, a pennant flag that reads "Yay," a pot of glue and a broad horsehair brush, and the others we actually didn't encounter in the playthrough, but one of them is this whistle code from these tall grass kids. And the other is from the hot dog man, which you can, for some reason, have a bit of your body transformed into hot dog, delicious and fast healing.
That's so much, not that one.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm eyeing the popcorn cart. I don't know if anyone else is interested in that.
No, that sounds good. I must admit, I'm very taken by the pennant flag that reads EA.
It's great.
I love that. You know, I think I'm gonna take that pot of glue and a broad horsehair brush. I don't think I'm gonna use the brush, but I have some ideas of what I could glue to things.
Yeah.
I can glue all sorts of stuff to things.
Amazing. So that sounds like everyone's got rewards. Can't wait to see what you do with them. And yeah, normally, well, not normally. We're jumping to the conspiracy, the Institute conspiracy, because we've got 8 conspiracy clues. And we're kind of in between mysteries. So I'm just going to recap our conspiracy clues that we picked up along the way and give you this setup and pass it over to you all. So things you've noticed over the course of these other assignments. You've met an employee of the Institute taking notes on your activities, or we've seen that happen. You've seen a body carelessly disposed of, bearing signs of attempted hallowing or partial sainthood. At one point, there was an actual letter from the Institute saying how they've noted your work in the field with interest. You learned a little bit about the history of the Institute when they faced backlash for recognizing a god called the Devourer below, this sort of parasitic fungal god. And you saw red lights at night blinking in a complex sequence, like from a signal tower. You found a page of handwritten documentation at Camp High Tuck that was detailing your own activities and investigations. Also at the camp, you found a hallowed body injected with that drug laminar, which had made it sort of nearly translucent and starting to levitate. You saw signs of wildlife with a sort of angelic transformation, kind of illuminated with this radiant energy. And more recently, military vehicles passing in the distance, though there are no known bases nearby. So those are just like narrative clues you've come across. They don't mean anything mechanically. But I'm going to read the intro to this confrontation and then kind of see how you want to approach it, how you want to travel there and pass the scene to you. So this is the Institute. In an effort to rival the Linger Strait's advanced research facilities of Temetry Isle, the Institute established Substation Eremos in the Calignus foothills, a day's drive south of Glottage. Official records list it as a decommissioned military base, but as you've determined, it has been a site of extensive research and testing of experimental divinities for some time. So the precise location of this facility is obscured by a series of localized mirage miracles and false road signs that are designed to redirect anyone who ventures too close. The facility itself is protected by perimeter fences and limited security forces. But despite all these the day-to-day operations of the facility are carried out by a skeleton crew. It's rumored that some areas of the station are patrolled by wandering saints or overrun by experiments that have gone awry. Which custodian has the most verses written? Be curious to see this actually. Some of you managed to not write too many actually.
I've got 4, I think.
I think it's Merriweather, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just counting. I do think it's
Yep,
me.
I think it's you. Because I was like scrolling through, like comparing. I think it's Merriweather.
How many have you written total?
Looks like 6.
Cool. This is fitting, and maybe this is a follow-up to Cousin Skeleton talking to you or something else. You get the sense that something is guiding you towards the location of the facility. What calls to you, and what are you afraid you will find there? Pretty open.
I think what Merriweather is afraid she'll find is the why am I blanking on the name of this family?
Skeleton?
The Skeltons, of course.
Mhm.
That the Skeltons have been or are in the process of being hallowed and turned into some kind of experimental saint. And yeah, I think it is cousin that kind of calls her there. Like he's the one spurring her toward this. She does feel still that familial bond.
Yeah. I love how much that has continued in the story. How that's just really become true. So you have 2 questions and opportunities, which I'll paste. And then we'll see how you want to approach it. The first is how can the facility be breached? Complexity 4. And then from there, how does the Institute plan to implement their project, which is also complexity 4. Basically, and also the locations are separated here. So first, you basically need to find the facility itself, find a way in. And then once you answer that question, then you have more locations to explore. and you'll find a way to sabotage, reclaim, or destroy the work of the Institute that has ties to you. So to kind of pull this all together, we've had these sprinkled clues throughout the campaign of this Institute kind of following your work, picking up on the assignments, maybe taking samples, maybe interfering, of course, with the Dusk Mother outright capturing and taking evidence. And because this is all tied back to you and probably, going to lead to something horrible if they follow through with their work, you are here to sabotage it in some way. And this is not an official assignment from your superiors. This is a bit more personal and a bit more trying to keep all these threads from your previous work from spiraling, out of control and becoming something much worse. So maybe if I could pass the scene back to you all, we'll say you met up with Bastion at some point. This could be at the, forgetting the name, but the family farm where we last saw the carnival happening. Or this could be somewhere else on the road. Maybe David, do you want to kind of tell us where they meet up with you?
Yeah. I wonder. I wonder actually if maybe they do meet up with Bastion back at the farm. I think maybe Bastion is like out working in one of the fields, turning over the soil, but like it has no memory of why he is here, or what happened. But yeah.
Oh, I love
Nice.
this. We just find you like outside farming, like we're like, where's been Bastion this whole time? And it's just pans over to you, like in a field. Like that's unhinged, and I love it.
That's great, because I forgot, actually, it's been a few weeks of real time, but how Bastion was helping out there, and you were just continuing your work while everything else was going on.
Yeah. I mean, Bastion definitely went with definitely lured with the others to the circus, but yeah. Who knows how to end up back here?
Yeah.
Who knows how Bastion ends up anywhere? Zeph cannot figure it out and has not asked and will not ask. It's not my business. But I do think like when we just kind of like look over, like we haven't seen Bastion in a minute. Where is he? And we look over and I'm like, is he okay? Is he good?
Could y'all remind me, were there other followers? There were other side characters at the circus, but I feel like someone officially made one of them a follower. Am I getting that wrong?
Did we collect Joy? Like the other child?
Joy and Lucas?
Yeah, I think we might have 2 children now.
Oh no.
That can't be right. That can't be right.
Or do they
Just in time for the confrontation?
Just in time for us to show up at the Institute with 2 safe place for kids. So good.
Well, 3 if you take cousin with you. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Oh, maybe it was cousin. I don't remember, but I feel
Yeah.
like we just keep adopting kids.
This could be a good place for them to kind of stay in relative safety.
Yeah, I think we might need to have a conversation with Lucas about that.
Yeah.
I don't think we can take him to the Institute. This is it's a bit beyond the pale.
Who's gonna have that conversation? Who wants to have that scene?
I think Zeph is goes to like Dr. Quick and is like, we need to do something about this.
Right. Lucas, Zeph and I would like to just have a quick word with you in the garden, if that's okay.
God, you're gonna make me do it too.
It's like, okay, but after you got to see we've raised the trapeze up, and I think Joy didn't know that it's the height, right? I got to practice, and it's the extra height that really lets you get that momentum, and it's awesome. You got to see it afterwards.
Oh, we
It's
will
so cool, buddy.
absolutely
We'll
see it.
definitely see it afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine like I'm certainly looking at Zeph like, are you gonna say if you're not gonna
Yeah,
say
and
that?
Zeph's looking at like Dr. Quick the same way. And eventually, like, I don't know which one breaks first because they're both like looking at each other like,
Fine. Look, Lucas, Zeph and I just wanted to have a talk with you because there's something we need to do. A lot of the trouble we've had along the road, we think comes back to some very bad people. And I think we've agreed that we can't let that stand. We need to do something about it.
I'm ready to help. Whatever you need. I've had a lot of good practice now. Just tell me what you need. I'll come with you.
We need you to stay here. We need you to
Like,
stay
what?
here and be safe with the Ackermans. They'll take good care of you. And we're gonna come back, okay? We're gonna come back and then we can keep doing whatever this is. Zeph, help me out here.
you were on such a roll. I didn't want to interrupt, but and I think he crouches down on Lucas's level. And this is a thing he does a lot because he's so like he's quite tall. And you're incredibly good at this. But these people will kill you. And we don't want that because we care about you. And we want you to live a long time so you can keep being good at this and keep doing it. And so we need you to stay just for this one. And he starts to like try to articulate the will come back thing, but he doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I guess I could stay here and you know, Joy needs help to practice our acts, and they seem kind of bored here. So
Exactly.
yeah.
This is part of the custodian's duty is I'm sure you've seen Dr. Quick do it a lot. It's part of community building. And saving people doesn't matter if you don't help them out afterwards to actually live a life.
That sounds like stuff grown-ups say, but we're gonna I was showing Joy if we make some like anti-clown mines, we could protect the farm. And so I was gonna make sure that everyone stays safe here. So don't worry, I've got a plan.
That's perfect. That is exactly where we want you to be. You keep making those
Nice.
anti-clown mines. Be careful though. That's anti-clown measures are very serious.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be careful. I'll use everything that you taught me. And it's like, okay, can I and like, here, check this out. And goes shows you this very, very unsafe scaffolding that the children have been erecting. And you know, they're having a great time. So you probably are leaving them in a safer place than taking them with you.
Yeah, and I think after Lucas shows us this incredibly dangerous but much safer than whatever we're gonna go do stunt, Zeph puts in a hand on Dr. Wick's shoulder and leans in and just says, "Good job."
It's Zeph, it's really something, isn't it, that there could still exist innocence in a place like this with gods like this roaming everywhere. Innocence and joy. That's worth fighting for.
It is. I'm not sure how long, but it is.
All right. Let's go join the others, yeah?
Yeah, let's make sure Bastion isn't, I don't know, digging graves or something. That seems like his thing.
Yeah, I think maybe this is the
these finishes.
I think maybe this is a point where Bastion sort of wanders over. He's got his shovel, slung over his shoulder with the pennant that says "Yay" hanging off the handle, and there you are. Good. I guess it's time to get back on the road. He sort of glances over at the The kids in there. Yes. Nice scaffold.
Yeah, when you come back, we're gonna, well, this is just the first one. We're gonna have like a network. It's gonna go across, we're gonna go over the house so we can like hang different flags. We're gonna have a whole show, and so people can see the lights, and they'll come from the next farm, and we're gonna make, starts listing all these like things. We're gonna make a fort on the roof, and maybe you could show us how to dig tunnels. You're really good at digging, so we could have some like secret tunnels. That would be pretty cool.
Awesome. Sounds great. And yeah, I'll teach you how to dig. And it kind of gives a wave and turns around.
What's Merriweather up to? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Bastion, your god, she gives you a sense of when you're going to die, isn't that? I believe that's one of her tenets.
Sort of, in a way. Certainly, yeah, there's a feeling.
Any hints?
I think we'll all be fine for a while.
Reassuring. Thank you.
Depends on how long a while is, but nothing. I agree with
Yeah.
Elle in the chat.
Yeah, Lucas is one of the brightest engineering minds of his generation. Merriweather, what are you up to in this like moment before you all leave?
Maybe this would be a good time for me to do my verse.
Cool. Yeah.
If my voice will cooperate. um, this is a flashback showing how you had no choice but to sign a contract as a custodian. And I think for this verse, you'll have to recall the oil town where Merriweather's boyfriend sacrificed himself, uh, as well as Carrie Weathers, the circus performer that Merriweather created last session. Because I think the first thing we see is Carrie and walking away from where the circus was, like through the forest out onto the road. And she's still wearing her pristine white acrobat's costume, and she has a trunk full of all of her things and her thumb out to hitchhike. And as the camera sort of pans past her, um, through its lens, we're seeing a very similar road, but in another place and time. And suddenly we're hearing the celebratory rites of that little oil town in the background. Uh, a festival for the successful sacrifices, and there's music and shouting. In the distance, we can kind of see oil-covered bodies, raising their hands to the sky, thanking their god for its renewed bounty. And in the foreground, we then see Merriweather walking similarly to as Carrie was, but she is like completely stricken. She looks blank and almost catatonic, and she has none of her belongings. She's just leaving this town behind. Her skin is covered in oil that feels heavy and smothering. And in this moment, she kind of hopes it does smother her. She realizes that she made a choice that she doesn't want to carry into the future. And she realizes this role is not one that she wants to keep playing. So when, after what feels like hours of walking, when the van with the biased logo on its head begins creeping along beside her on the road, and a person leans out and says, "Hey, you need a ride? Hey, what's your name?" She responds first with the name that she was born with, Mary, and then hesitates. Merriweather, she says. Merriweather. And when the man in the van repeats, "You need a ride, Merriweather?" She just nods and climbs in. And when he explains what he's doing out here in the middle of nowhere, working as a custodian, solving other people's problems and free to ignore his own, and actually he gets a bonus for every new custodian he signs, and would she be interested? When he says that, she doesn't hesitate because Mary Reznik wanted to be an actress. Mary Reznik wanted the entire gambit of life experience. She wanted all of its joys and sorrows, its happy mornings in the arms of a lover, and the crushing sorrow of a lover lost too soon. She wanted to crush all of it together and make it into art, something that would make people feel. But Merriweather knows deep down that all of that just isn't worth it. Merriweather wants other people's problems. Merriweather wants to be a custodian. And we cut back to Carrie, this other version of Merriweather in her white outfit, walking down the road. But no, wait, it's not Carrie this time. It's Niece, and the white outfit is stained with dust. And the custodian's van pulls up beside her, the bias logo on the hood, and Merriweather leans out and says, "Hey, want to ride?" And I'm adding Niece as a follower, so she's gonna come
Whoa.
with us.
Whoa, that's so cool. Okay. Ow, I have to go back and pull up her details for fun. But niece, okay. So beautifully woven together. That's cool. So we have niece and cousin with you then. Say.
If that's too much, maybe we can have cousin stay at the farm too.
No, it's fine. No, it's great. I'm just glad. I just wanted to tie them in, so this is great. I just have to pull up her description. I'm remembering the thing I wrote properly. Do you want to incorporate this as a sort of like Watcher in the Wings, kind of like altering reality to her showing up, or we just want to cut to you catching up to her on the road?
Yeah, I think maybe Merriweather's on her way back to the farm. Maybe she was, just driving around
Oh,
processing.
gotcha. Yeah.
And she comes back with the van to join up with everyone else.
Love that. Perfect. The niece cousin, we'll kind of describe as you all and are discussing, catching up with cousin, catching up with niece, how she's seen a little bit further than cousin, I think. Maybe she's walked back from these sort of foggy moors, actually, the slumbering moors, and describes how she's kind of lost track of time. She's unsure how long it took her to get back here to this farmland to find you, and says that the roads seem to almost like vanish in the fog and reappear, like they're trying to lose her. And I think if it's all right with you all, we will cut to you driving in the van on one of these roads. You've seen abandoned roadside shops, sometimes an old warehouse, some industrial wreckage, looming boulders which suggest dreaming faces. And even though it's probably midday, it is thickly shrouded with fog. There's distant flickering lights. And here and there, you've also seen vehicles half sunken in the mire, like they lost the road completely and started to just sink. This is a paint the scene for everyone. How does the landscape seem to misdirect you from your path?
I think sometimes there are these like there are things that look like the path. They look almost like the road, but they're more like actually footpaths or like a desire path where people have gone further into these mists, and like it almost looks like a fork in the road that you should take. And it's really misleading, even though there's only one main road. And I think like it's almost like we almost turn onto him a few times before we realize, oh fuck, that's not even the road.
I think at one point, just in the fog, we pull up to what appears to be a toll bridge, just an ordinary toll bridge. The posts down, a little booth in front of us, and we just sit there idling for a while, just watching. And gradually, we can be quite certain that the human-like figure standing in the toll booth is not quite moving as it should. And as we just kind of turn and veer off onto a side road, we do just see that as the bridge vanishes into the mists, just for a second, it seems to be turning into something very, very different.
I think there's something about maybe a combination of the topography and the mists that hang over the area that means that shadows seem to kind of shift which direction they're being cast from as we sort of drive along these sort of the winding path. And I mean it's you know it's just sort of disorienting as it's like, wait, have we turned back on ourselves? Is it, you know, yeah, it's just keeps throwing us off as we're driving.
And I think those blinking lights in the distance have like an almost hypnotic or soporific quality to them. So that every once in a while, whoever's driving wakes to find that like the van is like drifting just off to the side of the road, or they'll wake suddenly startled by headlights coming in their direction and have to swerve out of the way.
Nice. Who's driving, do we think? Just not for anything too specific, just kind of describing the scene.
I think usually Zeph is the one who's been driving, and unless someone has very strong feelings about it, he's probably just hopped in the driver's seat.
It's fun. Yeah, I think, give me a second here. I think we're technically in the journey scene here, so I'm going to try something. Second for this to load. Yeah, I'm going to introduce the scene Elle wrote because it's awesome and we're playing with Elle. So I think it fits here. This is the town of Erstwhile. So as a reminder, the journey phase, we're going to narrate some prompts, but several of you have a stack of conditions, so feel free to try to get rid of some of those. Otherwise, I can't wait to see how things like clown car or you know, all of your weird conditions are going to come into play in this this confrontation. So keep that in mind. You'd forgotten it was here, this gray speck on the peninsula, this faded blotch on the map. These days, it's more ghost than town. The crumbling remains of a general store, a blank white church, a little copse of houses perched unsteadily on their foundations. Still, it'll do to stretch your legs, to dawdle a spell and imagine what once was. To contemplate the numbers slashed through the population sign. Thousands dwindled to hundreds, then to none. Right above the town motto, nothing's here, everything's fine. So we have a first paint the scene. And I love the way on the way this is printed. There was a redacted name, so we don't know this name. What do you see that hints at how worship of blank, erstwhile's parochial god of forgetting, led the town to ruin? How do you know that even now its divine presence lingers, feeding? Let me see if I can copy that. Yeah,
So
go for it if you have thoughts.
Okay, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
I think we see like how those the sign was marked out like none, like the population. We see parts of signs on other places that have been like rubbed off, like as if it was like purged on purpose, and other places where it hasn't been, you can't quite like process the word that's on the sign. Like you try to read it and it just does not. It's like how when you try to read a paragraph and you're just like, God, Jesus, I can't get this in my brain. It's like that, but for like a sign with 2 words on it. And so I think that's how you know it's still there doing shit.
I had a similar but slightly different thought. So I think we have, as we're sort of driving in, there's one of those like the big like church signs that you have by the sort of roadside churches in America, where it says today's sermon is, and then at the bottom of the sign there's just a big sack of letters that have just been kind of dropped and discarded under the sign.
I think that as we're on the approach to the town, we just whiz past in the fields what appears to be a small, ramshackle shanty town that is just maybe half a dozen ragged-looking children. There's a 10-year-old who's clutching a baby in his arms. There's every sense that actually the parents of this town forgot they had children, and so the children have had to forge their own community just outside it. And we can tell that the god of forgetting lingers on because these kids, they stare and gawp at the car rushing by and just begin to chase it as if they've never seen anything quite like this. But just as soon as we go over the verge, they all stop dead still and just look at each other and begin to drift back towards their encampment.
I think that Merriweather at least has a moment as we like are passing through where she looks to her side and realizes she does not recognize the person that's sitting there. And it passes momentarily, but like there's that like sharp panic of like, where am I? Who are you? Where are you taking me? Before she's like, oh no, that's Bastion. I know him. He's my friend. But she can imagine the way the people of this town must have felt day by day, how brothers might have forgotten about each other, how sons might have forgotten the kindness of the mothers who raised them, and how they might have one day turned on each other.
So good. Was that everyone for paint the scene? I think. There's also the optional recall a time prompt if you want a roleplay prompt for your journey moves. When did you make a disastrous attempt to unburden yourself of the past? If anyone wants to do journey scenes here, it's open to you. Yeah, go for it.
To whoever's around. Anybody else want to do it? Is anybody else itching?
Whoever remembers you.
Yeah, right. Whoever fucking remembers me. Who got them condition? We all got them conditions. So who would like to journey scene with me?
Is there someone riding shotgun?
Yeah, who's riding shotgun? How about that? Because I'm up front. I'm not gonna yell back at you people doing your own thing.
I'm up for it, but I feel like we've had lots of Zeph and Dr. Quick time, so if someone else wants to go first, please take it.
There's enough Zeph to go around.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I think and I think it's actually just there's a quiet moment through this town, and he looks over at Dr. Quick, just kind of glances off the road for a second and just, "Are you okay?"
Thank you for asking. No, I don't think I am. You?
No, I don't think I have been in a while.
All right. So I'm not really that kind of doctor, but I suppose traditionally in this sort of situation, the thing to do would be to talk about it.
I That's what I thought you might want to do, and I suppose
Oh,
that's
you're making me go first again after you
Of
already did
course
that with
I am.
Lucas. That's
Of
what's
course I am.
happening.
Of course I am. Yes. I I asked you the prompt. I prompted you.
All right. Uh, I suppose I've been thinking a lot lately about how I am something of a coward. Um, I'm not as good as I should be, not as I haven't done as much for other people as I ought to have. And when I did, ultimately it was always for myself. It was always I liked the sense of control in helping people. I didn't like the helping itself. My brother was always he was always the golden boy, and then when we grew up, he was the better doctor. He was the one who would never hesitate to take something awful and punishing into his own body just to give someone else a chance. And I've always got away with not doing quite so much of that. And now we're facing this institute. Some part of me keeps saying, if you die out there, if you sacrifice yourself to stop this thing, it's worth it. It's all worth it. And then there's another small voice in my head that says, but wait, if you live, you can go on helping people for decades to come. So you need to get the hell, you need to turn this vehicle around and drive back to Glottage and start doing what you're meant to be doing. And I don't know which voice is the coward.
Does it matter?
Not if we die, I suppose.
No, does it matter if you're a coward or not, if you're still helping people? Does your motive matter if the ends are the same?
I suppose it's a question in my faith we often come back to with our God. Is the Pox Martyr helping people, urging us to help people because it's benevolent, unlike, sorry, Zeph, awful gods like the Saint Electric, or has it just found a clever way to feed that allows it to feel superior? I think there is a difference, don't you? That we must be able to do the right thing for the right reasons, not solely the right thing for the wrong reasons.
I'm not sure there's a difference. Because I rarely do things for the right reasons, but some good has come of it. And I don't think many people do things for the right reasons, because I think most people are a little bit inherently selfish. So, just like gods are inherently selfish. So, why are we any different?
Because I'm a healer, Zeph, so I want to get better.
You're supposed to make other people better.
Physician, as the saying goes. I don't know. I perhaps you're right and there is no answer. I do want to learn how to be a better man. And maybe I clung on to Lucas too long. Maybe we led him into danger because that seemed like a way of making it happen. Again, selfish, you know?
You're guilty of that, so am I.
Oh no, I wasn't disputing that. You are absolutely guilty of that.
This is very fair.
Uh,
You're right. I won't dispute. I won't dispute you not disputing it, but I don't think. I think we did okay with Lucas, at the very least.
He's back there making anti-clown mines with a bunch of strangers.
And when we found him, he was climbing on rooftops on top of some sort of plant gods. I don't know. I can't even remember what was some sort of drug thing. I can't remember. It doesn't, but it was a dangerous place. He didn't have anyone else. It's now he has other people who care about him. I mean, we care about him even if we're not around.
Well, then we're back to the nature of gods, aren't we? You can care about something and yet control it, steer it off course, destroy it. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about myself. What's going on with you?
I think you said it best. I think I'm just worried we're doing the wrong thing. Not for the wrong reasons, but I'm worried that I'm driving this van to a place that's going to kill us all. And I don't think any of you, deserve that.
I mean, there'll be lots of electricity at this institute, right? It's a scientific facility. I should think if there's anywhere your god can help us, it'll be there.
Oh, she'll help. I'm just not sure her definition of help will help us.
You may be right. But, well, we have to come back, don't we? We promised Lucas.
You're right. We promised. Besides, I need to make sure he's not, building the wrong kind of anti-clown mines.
Beautiful sky tonight.
If we do die, it's beautiful.
It's probably the pollution in the air from the institute.
Oh, completely.
Sorry not to be.
This is from pollution. No, this is completely from pollution. I'm surprised we're alive still, breathing the air. And I kind of look back and Merriweather's probably smoking a cigarette in the car.
Actually, I'm gonna add because the Poxmartyr can't normally clear conditions. Actually, you both get to stumble on a clue. I have a clue I can just give you, which could just fill in that, and then you can also elaborate on that.
Right.
But just since you're framing it so well, as you're looking at the sky, Dr. Quick, you actually catch a glimpse of a helicopter circling far in the distance, kind of just passing by at this odd arc, and kind of like it's completing a loop and heading off somewhere into the mist. But you see that it's releasing some kind of mist trail. So it's absolutely the pollution, as you just said.
Awesome.
Do you each have a condition you want to clear? Or sorry, rather, Zeph.
I want to clear clown car. I don't fucking trust that. Don't you do that to me. The other two, I'm fine.
Sounds good.
I don't want clown car in the institute. That's too chaotic.
I'm sure it'll find a way in if it hasn't already. But yeah, great. And you get to stumble on a clue, right? Together from I'm mixing up my Car from Brindlewood games at this point. There's too many.
I can't remember. I'm gonna.
But I believe you get to stumble on a clue yourselves. Maybe be thinking about that for a moment, and then let's cut to the others. Merriweather, Bastion, do you want to take a moment, or are you doing personal rituals?
I would happily have a scene with Bastion. I wonder if we could take a quick break first, though.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure thing.
Think about your scenes. We'll come back in 5. Cool. All right, we're back, and Merriweather and Bastion, if you want to do a journey scene, you had a moment to think about the prompts. Welcome to go for it.
Yeah, I'm imagining that Merriweather is indeed in the back seat, prodigiously smoking a cigarette, all the windows rolled up, just fogging up the van. Um, she'll extend the box toward Bastion.
Yeah,
Cigarette?
please. Yeah, he'll take one and light up.
Finally, someone else who understands that they're good for you.
Well, I certainly know these things aren't going to kill me.
Is that why you're so chill all the time?
It's not like I know the moment it's going to happen. I think that's still going to come as a surprise, but I think it's going to be sudden and relatively quick as these things go. And, well, until that moment, it's best to live what I have.
Merriweather is nodding. Was that your choice? Like, not to know when? Do you like it that way?
It's not really a choice. It's a he sort of waves the cigarette around and says, "It's like when you do like just glimpse something through the fog for a moment, and you're never quite sure what it was you saw, whether it was a person or just a shadow."
Mm.
But I mean, we all know that, I guess, in the general sense, right? But I suppose I've just had it brought home to me more.
I mean, it seems like you have a really healthy attitude about all this stuff. Sometimes I feel like I can't really relax unless I'm in mortal danger. I mean, don't you think it's messed up that the most fun I've had in a long time was in that compound with all those wackos with guns?
I mean, no, I get it. I mean, that's the thing, I think, isn't it? It's like you're not really living unless there's the possibility you're about to die. And I mean, like I said, that possibility is always there. I mean, someone could barrel out of the fog and T-bone us and wipe the four of us off the face of the earth at any moment. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it could, right? But when you can see it, when you can see the end there in front of you, it brings everything to a point. And if you can still do something about it or do something different or just do something, then there's there isn't a more intoxicating feeling, I don't think. Helplessness, that's what gets you, I think, the despair.
Mm.
But well, you can keep going, keep doing something.
Maybe. I think for me, it's more like dipping my toes into oblivion just lets me forget myself for a moment. I guess that is a kind of helplessness, but it's also freedom. I don't
I
know.
can see that, I suppose. I think I can understand wanting to leave it all behind sometimes, but I just try and keep focused on what I'm doing now.
Well, um, I guess you keep doing you, and I'll keep slowly killing myself with these cigarettes. Oh wait, I forgot. Forget that. They're good for you. And she'll like open up the window and flick her cigarette out.
Nice. Are there conditions being cleared here?
Well,
Mm.
oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, I am tempted to keep a hold of Herald of the Storm because it's cool.
Mhm.
It does feel like we're past that point now, so I will get
Sure.
rid of that.
Sounds good.
I'll get rid of Hazy, I think. Both because cigarettes, I think, physically help Merriweather focus, but also because of what Bastion was saying about kind of his awareness of his impending death, helping him focus on what is here and now. I think Merriweather's going to ruminate on that.
Nice. And you both get to stumble on a clue, so maybe think about that for a minute. And let's go back to the other custodians because they have also stumbled on a clue. Could be something you recalled, something that one of the skeletons has told you, or something you see outside, like along the path. Any
Yeah, anything
ideas?
Do you have anything, John?
Nothing good if you've got something really juicy.
I don't have anything really juicy. It's like because I was like looking over these conspiracy clues and they're all really fascinating. I think maybe that there is like on the side of the road we see like a plant that has been it's like we think like it looks like it's semi translucent or wet, and then we see there is like this hand that has been ripped off at the joint that is semi translucent, like gripping it as if they were gripping it to try to stay there, and it ripped off.
Oh,
So
Awesome.
I'll,
yeah,
I'll
awesome.
word that better for the
Yeah, however you want to in the chat when you get a chance. Nice. Any ideas, Elle or David, about the clue you find?
David, do you have a thought?
Nothing immediately springs to mind if you've got an idea.
I really don't.
We can also sit on it for a little longer because Zeph still has to drive through this fog, and I'm gonna have B roll here in a second. So there might be new circumstances to discover clues. I don't know. Or you just might have more time. We'll see. But yeah,
We'll
let's
see
do
how
this.
bad I fuck up.
Yeah.
See.
Let's see. I think this will be a roll with focus. We'll call it the veiled move.
Okay.
And I'm going to look at your conditions. If you still have conditions.
I do. Oh, I do. I got two. I had three
Ooh,
conditions. I had
yeah.
to. I just had to clear clown car.
One of mother's
Ugh.
children or distortion's cousin. I'll say that's interesting. Let's say Distortion's cousin will put you at disadvantage. The way in that session we had this like storm and atmosphere going on, the haze, the fog.
I like that.
Yeah, and just because it's the veiled move, what are you afraid might go wrong here?
I'm afraid I'm gonna drive us into a ravine or something instead of where we're going because it's so
Sure.
treacherous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the trophy dice you gave me at the retreat,
Nice.
seeing how
Oh, let's see how that
accursed
goes.
they are. Okay. That is a that's a 7. Whew, just
Okay.
sliding under the door.
So, Zeph, you're at the wheel and you're going through the fog and you see a sign appear. Erstwhile has changed in ways that feel unsettlingly familiar, blanketing you in deja vu. What makes you think you've been here more recently than you can recall?
I think for a second, one of the houses that we passed looks exactly like the house at the farmstead. Like exactly. And I swear for just a second, I can hear kids laughing.
Nice. I'm going to think about that. I think you're making progress. But I'm going to give you the condition haunted.
Perfect.
This is both Elle's really great prompts for the town of Erstwhile, but also I saw Jason do something similar with the idea that this road, this path is trying to like misdirect you. So that's kind of the complication there is that you're getting somewhere, but you're not there yet.
It's taking me much longer to navigate
Yeah.
this than it normally would. It's
Yeah,
not a normal road.
So we could do, if anyone else wants to continue this journey scene, prolonged journey scene, you can, or you can swap out and have someone else drive, however Zeph is feeling.
I think actually, yeah, he like pulling over feels almost scarier than driving. But
Yeah.
when he realizes like when he like has to do a quick turn away from like what he realizes is a ravine, he like stops the car
Yeah.
and is like, all right, who's the best driver here? Who's good
Have there
at it?
even been other drive? I feel like it's
I
mostly
don't
been
it
Zeph,
has
right?
been me and Lucas. So have
I
any of you driven a car before?
Oh,
I can
no.
I can take the wheel for a bit.
Thank you. That would be fabulous. Just be careful. It's you know. And is like really, really careful, like when he exchanges seats with you. He might not even drive the car.
Bastion's going to kind of reach into his backpack and pull out a rattling I would say trucker pill.
Oh God, yes, please. That would be I love that you have these. Why do you have trucker pills?
I think you bought them near the camp or
Oh
something.
my God, yeah,
Yeah.
you did. Yeah. Zeph will straight
Nice.
up just take one. Like no questions asked.
Great. Yeah. Let's do a roll for Bastion then. Similar thing, you don't have conditions that I can use against you here, but it's the veiled move. You're still trying to find, you know, your way through these illusions or just through this landscape. What are you afraid might go wrong?
I think I'm afraid here that we as the I'm guessing kind of we're getting more into evening now as the mist and the darkness surrounds. I think his concern is just gonna drive off the road and we'll be kind of stranded in the middle of nowhere with presumably people who don't want us here on the lookout for us.
Sure. Sounds about right. So I think this will be with focus again.
Sure thing. is an 11.
Very nice. With an 11, you see something through the fog a little bit further up on a ridge. You see the hint of barbed wire perimeter fences. And I think the road branches off. You see like a gravel service road. And you just see the kind of like the silhouette of these angular concrete slabs jutting from the hillside and a very faint glint of mirrored windows. There seems to be this single domed observatory, kind of like the sunken eye of a Leviathan. And this is the Institute's exterior. So does it paint the scene for everyone? Second. Copying and pasting from this document's been weird. Despite appearing sophisticated in design, how is the facility starting to show its age?
I think as we're sort of driving along, we've got like that sort of like big chain link fences with like razor wire on top of them, but it's clear that the chain link fences haven't been maintained in a while, and they're starting to do that thing where they just like peel away from the supporting posts, so you can just kind of get in without any effort, really.
Sorry, B, I just noticed your message. I think we
Do
were
not
just
worry.
describing.
You're fine.
Were you here for David's role?
No,
okay.
Okay. David was about to roll when
Oh, sorry, I missed
a
you.
stranger when someone knocked on my door and
No worries.
demanded my attention. Do not worry.
No, he rolled an 11, so we've seen the Institute exterior, and also catching up with the chat. Elle mentioned a clue, which if y'all want to roll with that, that makes sense. You saw a warning featuring the Institute's seal appended to erstwhile's population sign.
Chilling.
It's a good clue. And we're doing paint the scene now. So basically you're seeing from a distance, there's a service road. There's a kind of foggy exterior and of this building. There's barbed wire. You still have to figure out how to actually breach this facility. But for paint the scene, despite appearing sophisticated in design, how is the facility starting to show its age?
I don't know if anyone else has said this, but the barbed wire around there is fully rusted, which actually kind of makes it better at its job. It will kill you eventually, but it's clear it's not been maintained.
I think there are signs outside the perimeter that at one point in time, someone thought that this institute was actually going to be a bit of a tourist attraction and that it would be quite open to the public to come and visit. So there is just a real kind of broken down World's Fair style visitor center sort of tower that is just in a partial state of collapse with various abandoned mascot stands, Polly Positron and Nelly Neutron kind of holding hands, murals depicting the great work of the Institute, which have now faded into decay.
So fun.
I think on one of these concrete walls, there's a sort of chipped and like kind of distorted prayer mark for a god that none of us recognize, because it's so old and so rarely worshipped these days, that it's almost fallen into oblivion.
Nice. So just catching up, I think that's 3 clues you have so far, right? Yeah, helicopter, the warning sign. Oh, and the hand. That's what it was. The hand, sort of severed hand, still clutching the foliage.
Yes, I put that into the wrong clues. There
All
we
good.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, goodness gracious.
So yeah, at this point, you're still kind of in these misty hills essentially, and you can kind of approach this however you want, looking for a way into the institute. Again, it's complexity 4, and once you figure out how to find a way in, you gain access to the other locations. Any thoughts on the approach here?
Sneaky, for sure. Like, I think this is we park the van or whatever, like, way far
Yeah.
away and walk, because this is not like we can flash our badges and they'll let us in. They probably don't want us here. This isn't even a Camp High Tuck situation. This is like they might shoot us on sight situation. At least that's what Zeph is assuming.
Makes sense. Oh, and in the keeper, I am I'm bolding the clues that you've added. Those are like actual like mechanical clues. Yeah, because I don't have that organized sheet for this yet on the keeper. Yeah, does anyone want to sort of I mean, again, if you want to trigger more specific moves, you're welcome to, or if someone wants to kind of lead the way on this next movement.
I mean, I think as the car kind of gets close, I imagine Bastion I mean, imagine you don't just drive it up all the way. I can't tell you what to do, but like I just assume you don't just drive it up to the doors. But before that's even an option, I think Zeph does kind of like peep up from the back seat where he stole Bastion's seat. It's like, so do we have a game plan, or did
I mean, this thing will probably go through the front gates.
we're just gonna waltz in?
I mean, does anyone have a better idea?
I mean, no, but I just kind of assumed they wouldn't. I assumed they'd make us leave at best.
Well, actually, I think I might know someone here. Kind of.
Oh,
Ooh. Mhm.
ooh.
And Merriweather is looking at Niece, I think, when she says this.
I forgot they were in the car.
There's someone who works at the Institute who looks a lot like me, like us. Again, pointing at Niece.
Oh. Okay.
Remind
Me-
us, was Nice like Nice's version of you, right?
Yeah, we look
Okay,
identical.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
man. Okay,
I
cool,
forgot
cool.
they were
Yes.
in the car, the skeleton kids. Oops.
They're just way in the back doing their own thing. It's fine.
Yeah, cracking the
Merriweather,
window.
just to clarify, how many U's are there?
We should probably keep a tally.
Yeah.
I used to keep track, but too many.
Okay. How many do you think, give or take, are in the vicinity that we will encounter?
Well, I hope just the one.
The two. There's two.
Well, the one aside from the two that are here.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes. Is she cool, like, with us? Or I don't know how this works. I'm going to be honest with you.
I don't think so, but if we can maybe send me or niece in as her, we can kind of let the rest of us in.
It's a good plan. Do you know, do the scientists live on the campus, as it were? Or would it be a case of we try and get you in before she arrives for the day?
I'm guessing the latter. I mean, I might have created her, but I don't know her life.
So the rest of us could watch the road to try and delay her maybe, or stop her from arriving at the Institute, giving you the chance to sneak in. That could be possible.
Works for me.
Well, this is sounding like the full-on plan. Do you want to make another look for another clue as part of this, or do you want to roll?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say you'd be rolling a -1, which you hey,
Could.
don't let me stop you.
I think we could like look around like outside of the van for more like maybe looking at the roads and like trying to see if there's cars there at this like weird time of day, whatever time of day
Sure.
we're at, shit like
Yeah.
that. I think we could probably like maybe get some more intel.
Yeah, who wants to make the roll?
You said it, B. Come on.
Okay, I'll
Go
do
for
it.
it.
All right.
Information move. It sounds like insight, or
Yes.
focus if you're trying to be stealthy, maybe.
I think currently I don't think I'm trying to get up close to it.
Sure.
Because I don't want to fuck up this burgeoning plan when they see me creeping around. So I'll do insight because I'm like out here looking at the roads. Is it flat roll?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know. You're haunted. I'm gonna say haunted be disadvantaged. It's just the atmosphere that you're in still.
It's bad vibes. It's all bad vibes. Okay, that's still a 9. Okay.
Nice. A 9. Okay, so I'm gonna say the clue here, and then we'll cut over to the others. Back down. The clue is so as you're looking at the grounds, you see this is kind of building off of what you mentioned before with that the strange plant growth. You see patterns of foliage and stonework that seem to repeat themselves, almost like this kaleidoscope pattern. You're realizing this might be some of those sort of miracles or distortions, those sort of like that interference that the Institute has put in place to try to sort of cloak their location. And so there's it's that kind of thing where like at a certain angle you can kind of see through it, like when the graphics in the game kind of glitch. Yeah.
I love it.
Let me paste that here. The complication is that you also see a little bit further away, closer to the Institute. You glimpse it looks like a pair of researchers, and you notice them first because you see like drifting almost like pages, like they're going through like some booklet, they're tossing pages, they're frantically trying to find the right one to read. They seem to be from here it's muffled, but they seem to be arguing with each other, and you see something faintly shimmering and kind of pulsating in the ground around them in response, and then kind of like that kaleidoscope, basically the ground and the plants kind of like seem to kind of almost patch over where they are, and then you can't see them again, like the illusion covers them.
I will point this out to the rest of the group, like something to note. They have that.
I will say that this seems to be happening outside of the perimeter.
Oh, good. That's also oh bad? I don't.
I don't know.
Zeph isn't sure yet.
I might have the beginnings of something then with those four
Yep.
clues. So if we're seeing that via these illusions outside the perimeter, the helicopter spraying mist, clearly the Institute is deliberately creating not just an attempt to keep people out, but perhaps there is something outside the main compound that they're also attempting to obscure from us that we haven't seen yet. And it could be that that is actually where the scientists are living, is somewhere in erstwhile. And it's a bit of like a severance thing going on here where they are being sent out to perhaps forget something when they go to sleep. So they forget some of the things they've worked on and they can't give away confidential information. If that's too complicated, we could just say that there's a secret entrance in there that's being hidden. But the clues kind of point to erstwhile, I think. I've got no idea how the hand ties in.
My thinking is that it points to the other conspiracy clues with the translucent sort of laminar thing, that this is the residue of a failed experiment. Like this is like they were trying to work on this cloaking saint tech, whatever this is, and there's been breaches that have been fucked up and then immediately cleaned up in a pretty brutal way. Was the very complex thing that I like listing that I have for a six word sentence.
Yeah.
But you know, thoughts,
Maybe
opinions.
with the idea of it being like kind of almost like sort of stealth technology, maybe it's tied to the god of forgetting, to sort of tie it back to erstwhile, because obviously it makes people forget that there's a person in front of them, sort of thing.
Ooh, I like that.
It is really cool.
So yeah, I think it's like maybe the entrance is near erstwhile, or like there's this, because like from what John was saying about, it's kind of like severance and they're like living there but like not really living because they're like having to forget all this stuff. Maybe there is like a pathway through erstwhile directly to the Institute, somehow like a hidden one.
I'm seeing that like one of the locations that unlocks when we answer this first question is the sublevels, which suggests
Right.
like, tunnels connecting Erstwhile and the Institute. I think that
That's
totally
fun.
works.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Love that. It's a flat roll currently. You can continue to, if you want to build on that some more, you totally can. I just mentioned it since you all sounded like you're making a theory, so
We're planning. We're ready to break into some places.
Yeah, let's take some risks.
Yeah. There are multiple speeches about taking risks and living to the full. I think
yeah.
we'd be hypocrites if we didn't.
You want to roll it, John?
Oh shit.
Since you're offering.
Okay. That is a 3 and a 1.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Just because it's you rolling, we'll just describe for your character for a moment. Dr. Quick, you're back at the sign. Somehow you were walking, looking at this. Erstwhile, the town itself is gone. Only the sign remains, partially obscured by rust. Blank is here, it reads. Everything's fine. This is a paint the scene just for you. What grasping manifestation of this place's god shudders ecstatically before you, then fades?
So this is erstwhile as the god of forgetting. I think the horrifying thing is that the person standing before Dr. Quick could be an ex-wife, it could be a patient, it could be someone that he tried to save on the operating table but didn't. He cannot remember her face. and he doesn't know why she gives him such a look of absolute cold, unforgiving scorn before she vanishes. There's nothing particularly supernatural or openly monstrous about she's just a person, but he's left with the horror that he cannot remember who she was and what he did to hurt her.
And just following through on the miss, the rest of you start to see this. It's confusing at first because you're looking at misty landscape, and then sometimes things almost kind of like glitch, and it's not like they flicker electronically, but things just kind of shift and light refracts and moves differently. And at the edges of your vision, you see the shapes of the landscape almost become figures for a moment, and then they step closer to you, and they have this faint, almost angelic glow to them. And you realize that they look like people, but they are completely transparent, so that you're seeing like a distorted landscape behind them, like you're looking through a glass of water. And their voices sound like they're deeply submerged in water. You can't make out words, but they walk up all around each of you, and their hands are outstretched and pleading. And I think when they finally get close enough to touch you, you hear them just saying, like, please, I need to find the way home. It's been so long trapped here. Don't let them take us further down. And so it's a miss. We can continue to roll with this, but you all, as someone has said, you can all mark a verse to bump it up if you wish. I'm also going to offer a fun thing. Elle's scene, the town of Erstwhile, does have a special rule. If you all actually starts a different thing. But if you each leave an unmarked item from your altar here to be forgotten, you can actually unmark a verse of history yourself.
Elle,
So
that's so cool.
We're just going to tie
This is
these
such a
things
cool
together.
thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'll paste that. I'm just going to read it for if anyone's watching this. Special rule. Each custodian may unmark a verse of history if they leave an unmarked item from their altar here to be forgotten to. When they recite that verse again, they'll recall it differently. Memory is strange that way. So it's kind of giving you a free pass, really. Just if everyone can, if you want to mark a verse, we can bump the roll up and kind of move forward, and then you can unmark the same or a different one if you want.
I'm happy to do either. Like John said in the chat, I've got enough spare verses to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a special cool rule. It's one of the coolest journey scene rules I've seen. Preemptive star. So I'm down with whatever everyone else wants to roll with. It sounds like Dr. Quick got the brunt of it, so I'm not making that call.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to mark a verse too. I mean, it was a very cool miss. I'm not gonna
Cool
lie.
Miss.
But yeah, I'm happy to mark a verse for us to sort of push forward.
Sounds good. Do we want to do a short break to think about verses? Yeah, let's do like 5-minute break here or so, and then come back, narrate verses, and keep going. All right, so we have some verses to narrate, and then we'll see where we get here. Does anyone want to jump in first? Or while we're thinking about it, I'll just recap that we've all marked verses to bump up the result of that roll. If you can work it in, or you can follow up with it, but if you also want to leave an item behind at this remnant of the town of Erstwhile, you can also unmark a verse of history.
If no one else, I will go first to break the ice. And I think this is something that we see as Zeph is leaving a the let's see, what are we leaving? I think it's actually the Stitchroot seedling um at the town of Erstwhile, hoping maybe he's leaving something good here, something that will take root that isn't this. He's almost certainly wrong, because we flash back from that to a it looks like a factory. It's like the back rooms where circuitry is being worked on, and you can smell hot metal. And this is clearly some sort of electrical plant. The further we pan out a little more, and we see something smoking, and we can smell burning flesh now too. And we pan just a little bit to the side, and someone has been welded onto a transformer. And Zeph is standing there looking at them because it's someone he knows. It's his friend that he's worked with here at this plant for years now. It's a lottery. You draw, and he lost. And no one else around him is sad. No one. It seems like they're all a little just proud isn't even the right word, because there's not enough of a reaction. It's like they turned on a new machine. And whatever his friend is now is not his friend anymore. And if he is, he can't communicate. He's a part of the Saint Electric now. And as the power courses through him, Zeph watches as the lights light up on a new set of controls, and someone says, "Well, look at that. You can power a whole town. That's new." It's a good choice. But of course, the saint, she always knows. And Zeph is just stunned, but realizes that if this didn't happen, no one would have power. They couldn't power machines at hospitals. They couldn't power heaters in the winter. And he realizes that if he had been chosen, he would have been doing something good. And so maybe it was okay.
Listen, I can go. I've marked the action circle, narrate a flashback to your early training in the Retchman's Order, when you learnt to transfer the afflictions of others to your own body. What was the first blessing you took on? I think Dr. Quick he maybe faintly remembers as he passed through erstwhile this cold, scornful expression, just lingering in his memory, although obviously we undid it. But I think that the face that he would have seen is still sticking with him. And I think now he remembers what it was. The first blessing he ever took on, it was a 9-year-old girl, and the wound itself, elementary. It was a femoral fracture from a car accident. He healed it. He took the weight on, and even now his leg just still clicks as he walks. And he remembers that the girl came in with her mother, and the girl had come up with a hand-drawn card to say thank you, and it had a little picture of a smiling stick figure man in a lab coat with a stethoscope, and just kind of laying his hands on a figure that was clearly meant to be the girl, who was also smiling, and just the sense of rays of light radiating off the wound as the healer touched his hand upon her leg. Just an attempt to convey what he'd done for her and the impact it had. And he remembers glancing at this for only a heartbeat, and then just tossing it back at her, returning to his work, saying, I don't have visiting hours. Please see yourselves out. There's no need for thank yous. And the look of coldness, shock, and scorn on the mother's face, it did linger on with him, because at the time he thought, so ungrateful. I took this on for you. I sacrificed myself for your daughter, and you're going to look at me like that because I wasn't polite enough. I didn't have enough social graces. I'm busy. I have work to do. And perhaps he doesn't know still what to make of that. Maybe he will always be a little bit cold, a little bit hard to read. Maybe he'll always struggle with other people. But right now, he just wishes he still had that card and could look at the smiling face of the doctor that had been drawn there.
Yeah, I can go next. So I've gone for the Bleeding Revelation, verse of prophecy. And I think we see sort of almost like montage of Bastion. It's on his bike. It's dark. It's raining. The kind of greenish tinge of the bike's headlights put sort of, just almost drowned out under the under the rain. But we see kind of the lights of a house up ahead. And he sort of pulls in, knocks on the door. And it's clear he doesn't know the man that opens the door. But he sort of says, sorry to put you out, but would it be possible to stay the night? The man sort of welcomes him in. We sort of roll around to the next day as the sun rises, and we see sort of the house from the outside for the first time. And it's just a little cottage sort of on the outside of town. One of the front rooms is done up like a little shop, and we can see there's it's like a little florist's, and there's a garden outside, sort of nice, neat fences and rows and rows and rows of flowers growing in the garden. There's lots of wreaths and sort of devotional arrangements and the like in the shop. The two men are having breakfast together. Kind of Bastion remarks how beautiful the garden is, and the other man asks if he's on his way anywhere in particular. Bastion sort of says he's just passing through, and offers to help out, as thanks for the hospitality. We sort of see him out weeding in the garden, his hands in the soil, pulling weeds. And the days pass as Bastion stays there. They grow closer. They become lovers. And one morning, Bastion just kind of has his hands around the other man's waist, and he says, your hands feel so cold. And Bastion looks down, and over his hands we see two pale women's hands, and the man spasms and drops to the floor. And Bastion, is obviously distraught, and he rails at seemingly nothing, saying, "No, you don't get to take everyone away from me. It's not fair. This one, you won't get him. You won't." And we kind of see a scene of him tearing down the fences surrounding the garden, piling them up in sort of the ground outside, in a big pile of broken, splintered wood. And he brings the man's body out, and places it on the impromptu pyre, douses it in fuel, and plucks all of the flowers from the garden, and strews them over the body, and lights it. And there's just silence as the body burns, and the smoke rises into the sky.
Seconding all the applause and stars for these sessions. I just don't want to interject.
For for Merriweather's verse, says a flashback to her childhood, showing her first direct encounter with a god. We see Merriweather, or Mary as she was then, as a child, playing at her mother's feet while her mother worked. We hear the click-clack of a typewriter. We hear her mother's toes tapping a rhythm against the hardwood floor. We hear the phone ringing as her mother ignores her father's calls. He married a writer, her mother used to say, even long before they separated. He should have known what he was getting into. We hear also her mother's whispers as she sounds out the syllables of a new poem. We hear the rhythm of her exasperated prayers to the saint of the ever-turning pages when the words weren't quite coming together right. And frequently they weren't. Merriweather learned from her mother early that words are very difficult beasts to wrangle. But when they were right, Merriweather didn't even need to fully understand the meaning to feel their power. In her mother's poems, she would see the world tilted and in new alien colors, this like swirling cinematic phantasmagoria. At her mother's feet, she saw the world unfurl and become beautiful. And she always lamented, even as a small child, that it never seemed to stay that way when the poem ended. And I think in the present, we see Merriweather holding a bookmark blessed with the visage of the saint of ever-turning pages in one hand, and her lighter in the other. And she watches the bookmark go up in flames, the paper furling, and then turning to nothing.
Wow. I love just getting to be an audience for your scenes, everyone. They're incredible. So following those scenes, you have all... I'm going to pick back up where Dr. Quick, we had the miss. Now we're going to change it into this sort of mid result. And you do find, I think, the edges of the town of Erstwhile. You find that sign. You find some stairs, actually, sort of like it looks like maybe a bunker almost. Most of the town is described as no longer there. That's still true, but there are some sort of old concrete steps leading down, kind of weeds around them. And as you go down this into this entrance, you find away into the institute, into the sub levels. So you now have access to the institute sub levels. If you go through and further in, you'll get to the ground floor, or rather up to the ground floor. And somewhere in there, the testing hangar. The complication, though, is that these saints, there's been a breach, there's been some kind of contamination, as we've talked about, staff going back and forth, and these sort of translucent figures that you've seen are somewhere out here, whether it's escape test subjects or researchers themselves being contaminated with some laminar-like substance or something different. They are around, they're a danger. You don't know where they will be, and they're also probably hard to see right away because of that almost partial invisible nature. So just something to be aware of, some complication your way. But you have access to those locations, and I think, let's see, if maybe we can kind of get a sense of what your next approach will be, and then we'll see where that gets us, because I want to leave time for stars and wishes.
Yeah, I think what we were accidentally doing earlier was our next approach was to, but also I think that was before we knew about tunnels, but I still think maybe sort of using Merriweather's accidental clout here, like, might be part of the plan, even if she comes up from the tunnels. Maybe because she comes up from the tunnels. I don't know.
I feel so part of our part of what we described about the Institute's relationship to erstwhile is that people are living there, right? Like the employees of the Institute. Could we have found, or can we find now, Rosemary Butcher's abode, so that Merriweather or Niece can put on some of her clothes and maybe grab some things that would support this disguise?
Oh, that's fun. I like that. We're gonna go break into some random lady's house.
Yeah. So we can say that, just weave that into your solution for this first question of that's going to be your breach. And so you have at least, you have that face of the party if you want, or distraction, or Niece could relay information to you. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, maybe we dress Niece up and she'll like scout things out for us, and
she can handle it.
Sounds good. I think we'll leave that part of the game there, because you're going to be getting into this full infiltrating this facility, and it's this whole thing. So I would love to go to stars and wishes from there, and then I will add a little stinger scene for you. So man, stars to all of those scenes, just incredible. Just like, I feel like stars to the characters in general. I feel like we're getting these like end of season kind of scenes, and like the quality of the scenes and the monologues were amazing this session for everyone. And stars to finally choosing to leave the kids behind for their safety. It's kind of surprised after everything they've been through that this was too dangerous now. So that was very amusing. Loved all those scenes, and wishes just to see. I'm curious if anyone had any advancements or new moves that would come into play. And beyond that, just can't wait to see how you all interact with this. Kind of like, it's not like boss fight exactly, but like this like end of the season, like finale episode where you're getting very actiony and heisty, and just can't wait to see how it goes.
Oh my god, yeah. Stars to everyone's like flashback like versus it. I agree with Gabriel, like as some like getting to watch everybody do it, it does make me feel like an audience member of a show. I'm like, ooh, Ooh, this is juicy. Delicious. Because it's all so different and it's all so good. And it's always, they were also heartbreaking. And it really fit the town of Erstwhile, which, like, I know I've already said it. I'm going to say it again. Elle, that's such a cool journey scene. Oh my God. I want an entire, like, I know it's a journey scene and it functions beautifully as one. I want to, like, hang out there. And I'm glad we're getting to via the conspiracy because it is so cool. It's so sad and it's really thematically appropriate. I love it so much. Like the conversations were delicious. John, I love doing scenes with you. You know this. It's so good. And I loved getting to do the sad the sad scene where we had to leave Lucas and then getting a journey scene right after. It really worked out very beautifully thematically. And I don't know, there's something about the way Dr. Quick talks that it always feels like I'm watching a show, like, and this was a planned monologue in the way that it always feels very beautifully, thematically, like, appropriate. Like, you always know, like, the right things to say to, like, spark these, like, really, like, impressive conversations that, like, you always have, like, these really interesting things to say. And I think it's just because he's a very layered character and you're a very good writer. And I think it's delicious. It's very delicious, especially since he's been painted as like this kind of like cold person, but like he's not really, but he kind of comes off that. It's really delicious. It's just, oh, I love it. I love it so much. I love it so much. Bastion's backstory makes me very sad and I love it. Oh my God, David, that was heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. He's just me, John. What a mood. What a mood. But like seriously, I love Bastion and like I love Cairn Maiden like stewards because having this like really complicated but also very simple and almost loving relationship with death, and you really balance that perfectly. You really like keep those scales perfectly even every time. Like because I think having that flashback right after your conversation with Merriweather was like the perfect balance of that, of like, yes, you do have what most people would consider a healthy relationship with death, and yet there is still this impact upon you. It's so good. It's so good. Like, oh my goodness. And Merriweather's entire thing about identity and self and like the past versions of yourself impacting your future it's so cool. It's so complicated and beautiful and just deliciously thematic, and I love that all of the versions of her are still getting to be in play like narratively, because it's a really crazy move and you've woven it in so naturally. Like, yeah, of course there's other versions of Merriweather walking around. That feels correct. It feels right. I'm not like, this is weird. I'm like, yeah, of course one of them's hanging out with us. The other one's one of the Institute people and is ostensibly a villain. Like, that's really radical. It's like, I think it's a really cool thing to play with. And the thing about the poetry with her mom, oh, ugh, ugh, it got me. It got me. It's so good. It's delicious. And Gabriel, I love this. Yes, I love how many Merriweathers there are. But Gabriel, I really love the pacing of this conspiracy. It feels like perfect. I love how many cool opportunities you give us to do really thematic stuff. It's like it doesn't feel rushed and it doesn't feel slow. It just feels like this perfect pace. And you bringing in all of these different things from past assignments and like letting us have that scene with Lucas. And it felt like, I really love how you play Lucas because it really does feel like talking to just like a kid. Like that's how talking to kids feels like. And like the way you play all of these NPCs, even when there's not a bunch of them, it's really delicious. It really just always adds to the theme, and I really love it. It's very fun. Oh, I cannot wait to see what you do with the Institute. It's going to be so fucked up.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like I'm just flinging out stars, but stars for all of those beautiful verses I thought were just stunning. David, I loved the use of flowers in yours as a motif, I just found really, really touching and really powerful. But they were all really wonderful and really wonderfully delivered. And I guess it feels like we're on the threshold of the big climax. So it felt like everyone was just going extra hard with the drama. Elle, a huge star for Erstwhile. I'm obviously we didn't record the judges' discussion, but the amount of gushing for how beautiful and melancholy and eerie it is, but also how mechanically useful it is, as I think, Gabriel proved by using it as a consequence for a miss. It just works so so perfectly, and it fits in so perfectly with the game. Just a really stunning piece of writing. And also a star for how Merriweather's shenanigans with Nice and with this other doppelganger in the Institute do now set us up perfectly for a potential stealth route, which I'm very excited to see. So that's my big wish. B, as ever, yeah, adore doing these scenes next to you. It's so good, so much fun. Really love it. Love Zeph. And yeah, and Gabriel, I thought that was fantastic work. Very excited to see how this all comes together, because I've never got to a confrontation before, so this is all new to me.
My first time running it, so I'm just as excited. Yeah.
Good. Oh, okay, I'll go first. Yeah, I agree with everyone. The verses were incredible as usual. Um, I I feel like we haven't. I think I say this every time, but we haven't seen as many of Zeph's verses as we have others, I think. Maybe we're catching up now. But I always like get super hyped for his because of that. I'm like the rare Zeph backstory lore drop. I'm seated. I'm here for it. But yeah, all of them were of course amazing. I really enjoyed Zeph and Dr. Quick's talk with Lucas, that difficult parental discussion they had to have was fantastic. I really enjoyed playing the scene with Bastion and Merriweather, talking about death, uh, which is of course an appropriate topic for Bastion. But I did also really enjoy the juxtaposition of that scene and then Bastion's verse of history. Um, yeah, I thought that was great. And yeah, it was really cool to see your style in action. Thank you, Gabriel, for letting us play with it. I've obviously never seen it actually like happening at a table. So yeah, I really love the way that you used it to create consequences and complications too. And Dr. Quick's response to that last prompt was like so heartbreaking about the woman that he doesn't even recognize, who's just looking at him with utter contempt that he can't understand. I felt like I needed a doctor after that. Um, and lastly, oh yeah, the translucent people and like the way you describe Gabriel, that consequence of erstwhile being like looking through a glass of water and these like kind of foggy, swirling visions, was really cool. And the whole perimeter around the Institute gave me like big Annihilation vibes in a way that I like wasn't expecting, but like was really awesome and spooky. Um, so yeah, fun session.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Stars all around. It was a really great session. Good to get back into it again. After what feels like a little bit for me, but yeah, it was. I mean, I think most of the specific things have already been mentioned, but just to say, yeah, obviously all the verses were fantastic as ever. As were the scenes, the journey scenes. I think it was a really good session for that sort of like more intimate stuff, and that was really nice, especially because we're sort of then going into the finale. So I thought that was really cool, sort of juxtaposition of things there. Yeah, I think I loved the in that was it in the that initial verse from Merriweather where it was strongly implied that the Merriweather we're traveling with might not be the original Merriweather, which is great. I loved that. The yeah, you know, that sort of stuff is always great fun. I really liked the just as a sort of little thing, but I like the way Gabriel, you handled sort of the us getting to the place, and that it made it, even though we didn't really encounter anything dangerous at all, it just really helped build that feeling of like dread as we were approaching. I thought, and that journey was really cool. Yeah, I really like the that miss on the answer a question move was really nice. Both the way you set that up, Gabriel, and then your response to it, John, and yeah, B, the just that like visceral description of the you know, the welding of the guy to the transformer in that scene, and yeah, it was really cool to see that that really kind of intense side of the of the religion was yeah, was really awesome. I mean, like I said, everything was really great. And yeah, brilliant time. Thanks all.
Amazing. Any other stars or wishes? All right, we're good for now. We cut to a scene somewhere deep in the Institute. We see a massive vault. There are various operating stations. There's blinking lights and buttons, and looks like one-way mirrors, some big testing hangar. And there are some people bringing in, it looks like, body bags. They're being laid out on some sort of like central operating table. And we see figures we met before. We see Jones and company and their agents wheeling some other supplies, filling out something on a clipboard and heading back out. The figure that is still standing in there is Gabriel Salesa, the antiquities dealer, who is exchanging other goods. And the door's closed at the edge of this hangar. And he kind of looks up and says, but I should be leaving. And another figure turns from this almost like switchboard altar. Says, oh no, you've entered the space. You are part of this now. And your work is not finished. And he looks kind of confused. Says, oh yes, you have a part to play, my friend. And pulls some kind of lever, and we hear the sounds of like something open in the ceiling. Before we talked about seeing almost like an observatory type of window. And there's kind of a rumbling as some large metal plates shift, and outside a hint of fog. But we see our antiquities dealer kind of look up, and it's not nighttime outside, but it is pure night above him, and twin moons open up looking down at him, and this darkness swoops down and engulfs him. On the other side of the glass, there are more notes being taken on clipboards. There's discussions of adjusting certain levels. There's discussion of more supplies being needed. And someone kind of pacing impatiently behind them in a lab coat just says, we're not going to let a lack of resources or sabotage by terrorists or any other lackluster support by the public stop us. We're almost at the edge of this, my friends. We're going to have a true breakthrough. back on the other side in this hangar, there's the sounds of this once living figure being devoured, and the bodies that were brought in also being consumed as part of this early stage of an experiment. And underneath the table, we see kind of like remnants and pieces falling, and instead of blood or flesh, they look almost translucent, like jelly falling to the ground. The darkness withdraws back up into the top of this observatory. End of that scene. We'll pick it up next time and see what all this is about. Thanks so much, everyone.